AVRL right now.
That was a whole match ago. In the modern world, we did have, at some stage, we were calling this Hong Kong versus Attitude, but actually, I mean, you've only got in now. Yeah. I suppose you still have in a team.
You got CQB and Mango Jai.
So it's 2 and 2. You got enough.
Yeah. I mean, at best, it's like the H and the K of Hong and Kong, respectively.
Oh, you're losing a few letters now. Patapan's taking them off you.
Yeah, he's got more than enough in his own name, but he wants more. Red Fox is going to be able to commit that res, though, onto a team, but it's still a numbers deficit for Nova MS, who are waiting for Yon1 to get back into this. They haven't exactly got any counter trades either, and that means Talon get the opening cap.
Patapan's like, if I can't go to the World Cup, I'm going to shop right now in this particular match, and for Contenders in general. Already seeing it 100% for that Infrasight Yon1. Not even close cap going through for Talon.
I mean, this is just such a dream start. They're happy to take this pitched battle. They know that on a one-to-one basis, they should just outclass their opponent here. And Nova MS haven't exactly put up much of a fight as of yet. The double hook, it ends up being a team getting yoinked in. The wall actually blocked him off from retreating, and he goes down.
And you often think, okay, you get hooked in, you eat a full shot. It's a Ragdoll if I seen one. You get a full shot from the Roadhog, from a Pudo. But actually the most dangerous member here is you get hooked in, Patapan gets the easiest headshot of his life. You just get burned down straight away. 40% nearly now for Talon in terms of actual objective timer. And Nova MS making a few swaps now. A couple of members changed up, Piggy and Curb. Still getting on this one. Kerberos. There you go.
It's like Cabal Space Program, but anyway.
Kerberos Mecha-based program.
That's a kill, finally coming through here for Nova MS, their first one of this match so far. And I was going to say, this has otherwise just been like sub 50% of free accumulation for Talon, with Nova MS barely putting up a fight.
Another hook.
This one doesn't quite go the same way, though. They don't have the same spam damage out onto a team. So this is a 6v5 for Nova MS, but honestly not for long. They haven't really pressured this quickly, and Talon have got the respawners coming back in now.
You might get a counter cap here if Talon are not too careful, but Ultimates being online now means players are going to go down.
Yeah, I don't think they are going to get that counter cap, and that's the thing. It took too long. Talon are able to get back into the fight. And like you said, the ultimates to lean on, they're executing better. Patapan does go down here, which is big, but finding Red Fox may just be bigger because CQB Rez is bashful. They're still sitting at a numbers advantage. They're also still accumulating progress on the point. Nova MS never capped. We're now pushing 95%.
And this could just be over now. If Nova MS can't pick up the kills, can't cap this point out, and Talon can just walk over, this will be that 100-0 to start things off for the final match.
And here's the thing, Patapan's already back in the fight. He's opted to swap to Tracer, already made his presence very known. Mango Jai going down was rough because he had a nano boost. And even then with a Pudo going down, it's been even trades so far. And even trades will ultimately start to work out for Talon. This is ridiculous. Both teams now down to their final 2 remaining in the fight. Patapan going to be able to blink out of the way. The self-destruct and runs down Piggy before he can remix.
He's a one-man army!
Thing as well. I said making his presence known. No, he is the presence.
Mango Jai comes back, puts out the nano onto the player as well. That was, what, 4, 5 kills? Just him, stops the D-Mech, keeps the point under control. That's 100-0. Talon absolutely blitzing through this one, even when things start to look a little bit too difficult. Patapan shows up. I think he's trying to make a real case right now. He's basically, with performances like this, you can almost say that he's just the best player in the Pacific region.
It is very easy to put a title like that onto him. And we've said it before, but he's so incredibly young. Like, this is the sort of player that you would otherwise snatch right up into Overwatch League if you could. Unfortunately, not quite at that threshold. Instead, he can just click heads and Contenders.
Both sides now running very similar comps yet again, but it's a Pudo staying on the hog. And look, his hook rate's been pretty good. Landed quite a few of those.
Ooh, that's a good one, though. Finding Mango Jai early. Is Rezable low. Talon, 6v6. Now 5v6. Yon1 getting his counterpart. It's a very big one to take off the table as well.
We still have 5 members available. Health-wise, not looking too pretty, but if a Pudo finds a decent hook, that's going to be numbers evened up, at least for now.
Now both teams just sort of lining up for a pitched battle on the point. Nova MS with the greater numbers do get to have the better position here, and Mango Jai is in trouble. Nice sleep on a Ting, though. That ends up at least being a trade. Patapan has got back into the fray by now, but the Rez is there. Patapan immediately back out of the fray, and this is Nova MS getting the better end of all of these trades.
And I'll be honest, Yon1 in his time in the Pacific region was well known for a Widowmaker. And so far, in the at least 1v1s, he's had Patapan twice, gets taken down by Bashful. Points gone over, obviously, and Talon, first time in the series so far, starting out from behind. Kerberos with that Dragon Strike. waiting for his opportunity as well.
Talon are going to need to find some prime picks to approach this point. They have the members for it, they have the right composition for it as well, but they still actually need to get them.
Ashful's gone 2 now, and that's 2 DPSs. Yon1, Infrasight out available. Talon want to be able to push on that player advantage. They do.
Oh man, and it's just so effortless, isn't it? They suddenly get a pick, and it feels like after that, Nova MS are an open book of sorts. Talon, it's like when they decide it's time to play and win, they just do it.
And I'll be honest, Yon1 has been taking down Patapan quite consistently on this map so far, but that's about the only real point of victory for Nova MS. Gonna get 53% off of that. Constant 6v5 player advantage, but Bashful collecting a number of kills that time around. Talon, the other members, are able to also get kills. This time Mango Jai doesn't just instantly die to Kerberos, and that helps out a lot as well.
Now we're looking at a situation where Talon with the defensive position. Piggy going to toss that one forward. Doesn't quite find anything. Pudo, though, got a little bit low. Dragon Strike now as well. Just off to the side of the Supercharger. That would have otherwise been a very nice little thing to take down. Red Fox gets picked off instead, and a Ting Supercharger is going to get finished off as well. So a Talon just going to get the better end of every single part of this. 2 rockets is a kill for Bashful. And again, Talon, they just sort of push the button and win the fight.
And let's be honest, at every single point, you're running 3 DPSs here, Bashful's still popping. On every map, someone's hitting something. If Patapan's not taking control here, Bashful is. You can better believe that. For Talon now, we've already equalized 53 on both ends. And Talon don't want to give this one up.
That's what we say. We talk about the DPS options. They're not even really running a triple DPS. This is actually a 2-2-2 because they've got a Pudo on that Roadhog. Pickie's been playing since the dawn of his days in professional Overwatch, just not one we really ever get to see. He usually needs to be on a DPS. But you got Patapan and Bashful, suddenly it's not as required.
And if Piggie's playing anything other than Roadhog, I'm disappointed, just based on the name.
Right.
Talon right now,
what a letdown.
75% and still ticking up. Mango Jai is getting close to that nano boost as well. And Bashful's got to be the one that's doing a lot now, and he already gets a pick.
That's so huge. Finds a second with the Rocket Barrage onto Yon1. They don't even have Raiders anymore. It's absolutely disgusting. Pudo finds the remainder of Piggy, but it's only the remainder. He gets the small cut of pork, and suddenly Nova MS are finding themselves diving for a point that is approaching 99%. They don't have the numbers to really make this work. They're not going to really find any kills here. It's just a Ting stalling for as long as he can on a Wrecking Ball, but it is not going to pay off. Talon are going to secure Busan.
And the end of that looked just effortless from Talon. What you see is a lot of time being wasted by Nova MS, where they kept losing a member to Bashful. It's like he's sniping with rockets from the skies. That's a dangerous prospect for the receiving end on the other side of that. Look, Nova just never had 6 members. They never could re-push back on. Then the overtime happens. They're still on 5. A Ting has to suicide just to take over that overtime. And then suddenly, Nova do not get to compete on the point at all.
And it's after a reasonable start, but it feels like you're only ever playing on borrowed time against Talon when you get that kind of fight. You get the early pick. You get control of the point. You keep them at bay for a fair little while, and then eventually Talon just go, all right, we're ready to fight now. And then the point belongs to them. It never goes back off them.
Yep. So many points as well on the Talon side where you can say, this is a possible win condition. This is where we can get a big advantage over our team. If it's not Patapan, it's Bashful. If it's not Bashful, it's a Puda. If it's not a Puda, it's probably Patapan again. It's somebody. Muse is in there too. Every single player is able to make something happen. Every single player is able to really give you a good chance to win. One matchup I'm still looking forward to really developing over the course of the series is actually Mango Jai versus NN77, because for a while, first of all, that's an ex-member of Talon from the winning season of last season just passed, and also went with the team to the PAX Showdown in Shanghai. But NN for a while has been kind of dubbed the best flex support player kind of in the region, at least on the Ana position. I think you would probably say he's the best Ana, maybe not the best Zen, but on that Ana pick, he's been extremely good. So Mango Jai is now his replacement on the Talon side of things. He's playing Ana as well. I want to sort out who's better, and this is the kind of matchup where you can decide that.
The reality is, if I'm not mistaken, they were both on Hong Kong Attitude as well, with Mango Jai actually on the main roster. So there's even an aspect of, like, NN may even look at this going, I didn't get to play until Mango Jai went, and now he's back. I get to prove head-to-head that I deserved that spot over him. But honestly, right now...
He was a coach during that season, so he wasn't necessarily even a player.
It's not like a one-to-one, like, oh, he was off because Mango Jai was in. But the reality remains, like, there's all that history, and they've never gone head-to-head. They've never had that direct, truly, who is the better of the two, and we're not getting that until now. Both these players are champions on different teams with which they both have a history now.
Even the same team, when Inan was on Hong Kong Attitude, they won that season as well. So, I mean, you have players on both sides that have a championship under their name, and you have, in some cases, players like Gagora with 2 championships under his name, and now Talon looking for their 3rd victory in the season, giving a lot of these other players now more under the belt. I believe CQB's got 2 in a row as well. He was on Hong Kong Attitude, then on Talon. So that's not just 2, that's 2 in a row. So he can make that 3 in a row now, which would be insane.
And that's the thing, we're finally starting to see, after the sort of tumultuous early years of the Pacific region, this is including OPC, where it was kind of a revolving door. It was like a new team every season would end up being the victors one way or another. And like there was no, we didn't have 2-time champions realistically. There was like 1 player, I think, who had won twice up until Talon took their victory season.
I don't even know that we've had that.
I think there was like 1, literally only 1. And I believe it may have been a member from Detonator Korea, but I don't want to get too far away from the point, really, because the point is that now, like the fact that we can sit here and talk about, yeah, this guy's won before, this guy's won, these guys won 2 times. We're starting to get these multiple-time winners. Talon, in their own right, the first team to actually win more than 1. And even then, no one's won twice in a row. That's what Talon are looking to accomplish this season. I'm talking no one in terms of a team as a whole. And I mean, the shape of the region has totally changed under Talon and Hong Kong Attitude, and what remains of these teams here is still the best in the region.
And now Nova, they want to prove that they can actually take it up against Talon Esports. We have to do so on Volskaya Industries. They already won that behind, and look, that was pretty dominant from Talon, expecting a lot of the same, unless Nova can really start to shift gears. Yomon was doing all right. See if the rest of the team can also do pretty good. And Piggy's back on the hog. All right, ooh, status quo has been preserved.
Breathe out. Talon have swapped Gagora back in, so Bashful out, and they're going to be running a triple DPS out the gate here, potentially.
Now, this is a map where you probably do think about going back onto a 3-3, so Gagora being your flex tank player. Mango Jai is going to play the hog this time around. Patapan sniper against you. Double sniper, Orisa hog. 1 solo healer. CQB's got a big job ahead of him, and he cannot go down.
Tell you what though, 1 pick either side of the fence here could just break it wide open if it's an unresable one, and that's what both of these teams are really playing for. You see the pick and isolation potential on Nova MS, you see the sniper and spam damage from Talon. It's Muse getting low first though.
That's a hook.
Went dead just yet.
It feels like survive.
Out of keg.
The thing is, you're waiting for the holes to come through. They see that, okay, Nova Hamus has used one. Talon's going to walk up. Yom1 now, still getting the better of Patapan in these 1v1s.
That's another nice pickup as well, finding a Puto. Getting the, I mean, it's something to get the 1 headshot on Patapan, but Yom1's really starting to go toe-to-toe, at least in the head-to-head. Yeah,
this has been like 4 in a row that I believe Yom1 has taken it over Patapan, and he's got the infra side available now, which would give him a lot more to use going forward. So the next fight is telling to swap up quite a few members. This is probably the ideal time to reset. They've had 1 attempt, wasn't good. You want to change now so you can still have some ultimates going into future fights, but Yom1's hitting shots.
No more mercy here for Talon. I mean, the pick. They may still show mercy in the course of the game, but I'd imagine they shouldn't. There we go. Patapan finds his counterpart, just the patience for that shot. Yom1 is resible, but it provides an opening for Patapan, which starts to get the pressure down on some other members, and that pressure starts to get felt very quickly.
And Patapan held that angle for so long. He was just watching for that exact peeking corner. Yom1 gets picked off there. The res, as you mentioned, is already gone, so the next kill for Nova MS, the next death rather, is going to be permanent. Blizzard, don't know if that hit anyone.
Yeah, it's just off to the edge of the point, which means they don't have to stand in it. They can just stay on the rest of the point, stay alive. However, finally, Nova MS have found a way to push out of this room. The reality is they were crowd controlled in there for so long and often had their sightlines restricted. There's a lot of what was stopping them from contesting the point, so 2/3 cap for Talon. They might not be out of it just yet either.
That was a really cool kind of hook that Piggy did. It nearly was even more cool if he landed that one, but Talon for now are going to back out after getting 2 ticks. Patapan playing very cautiously, so he should. Both of these players have been just watching out for each other so much, and you can tell as soon as one Widowmaker gets to pick on the other one, the floor is open. They can do so much damage to all the other members now, and because Yom1's been winning these duels, he's been keeping Talon at bay.
It's been a very big factor here, even just preventing Patapan rather from finding all the extra value. We saw the difference in the one fight where Patapan was alive. Talon got themselves 2 ticks. They're still waiting for what will be their next opportunity. Lasting out the whole hog there, just waiting that one out from Piggy.
Let's see if Pudo can do well with his Blizzard because, well, Nova MS couldn't quite get value out of it.
That's a mighty hook there onto Gogora with the anti-heal. The Blizzard quite aggressive, actually. They're not really in a good position to push into it. That's a bit of an oopsie there from Aputo. I would say the same, though, potentially of Kerberos. As the trades have started to come through, they're feeling the pressure. They end up throwing out an ultimate, but Talon were already kind of retreating anyway.
This is going to be where Talon can find an advantage because they got enough trades where Nova MS have longer respawn distances going to the next push, of which there's only 30 seconds left. Talon should be able to get here faster, should be able to take better positioning, and currently they have 2 more ultimates.
That could be, indeed should be just enough. They will have a third coming up in the form of the whole hog from Gogora as well. Question's going to be will they actually make the connections? The wall just sort of blocks the line of sight.
What's the point?
Contesting the point. That's the real troublemaker in this fight. There's already Piggy down. The immortality field makes it hard to push into. It stops Young-One from getting those free headshots. They need to kill the immortality field. They still haven't even done that. Now Kerberos goes down to a headshot from Patapan, and Talon will be capping this point. It is in overtime, but they get another 4 minutes anyway.
And I'll be honest, okay, Young-One, by the way, gets a kill even as he goes down here, but the way they're playing around him now is to stop taking the coin flip 1v1s, which, to be honest, have been landing heads so far, mostly for Young-One. But you see Aputo, he puts up the wall to get in the way so that Young-One doesn't have an angle. They put down the immortality field such that Patapan can take the duel for free without getting taken down. Talon are really much trying to protect Patapan, trying to get max value here, and as they now push on to B, Young-One swapped onto a Tracer. Talon still have a couple of ults that they can use.
So they're not going to take that one-to-one head-to-head, which will actually alleviate the pressure on Patapan as it is. Some of these other resources from Talon may be able to be committed elsewhere. They've already found a pick on Piggy. Now just looking to barrel onto the point with the Blizzard from Aputo to zone off one half, and it was the half that was walled off anyway by Kerberos. He wanted no part of that fight, and Talon just clean sweeping their way across this point.
I think this little Piggy forgot to build this house entirely, just gets taken down so quickly. Even now, DMEC, I think Nova MS just cannot compete on this point anymore.
Turns out it's the Piggy that's going to be huffing and puffing as he tries to take a breather. But it's just not enough to keep him alive. Big Bad Wolf is going to catch you in his... they have claws, not talons.
It's a wolf-bird hybrid.
It's a wolf-bird.
It's like a griffin, but the head is like a wolf.
That would actually be a pretty cool creature. Save that for your next D&D campaign. Wolf-bird.
It's actually just a combination where the head is a wolf and the body is a Kilios.
I get it. I get the reference.
I don't have much to say here except that once they started pushing in, instant kill into Piggy. That 6v5 gives them the agency to just walk forward a little bit more, set up positioning for Patapan that isn't going to be counter-sniping anyway because Young-One at this stage is on the Tracer. They've used the higher ground talent that is for as long as possible, get a couple more picks, drop their ultimates, walk on that point. Nova are already down without having traded, and Talon just snowball forward with that pick potential.
Love seeing Gogora on a Torbjorn. Who knows what's coming, man? Put it on the May.
I mean, this could go a couple of ways.
Yeah.
I generally trust Talon to do this
Yeah.
more effectively than I've trusted Nova, which, you know, by the way, it was usually Mui who would bring it out.
Yeah.
But he's not currently playing against Kerberos and Young-One, so maybe they lose the Torb entirely from that. But, well, Talon still have it.
They're happy to run it too. Multiple ways you can go. Left or right or down the middle.
I've had Tor being described to me at its best as being like a McCree Roadhog hybrid, McCree Reaper hybrid, where you have the possibility of just doing insane long-range damage, but also like the close-range shotgun's good.
Can that turret see anything yet until they get to the point?
Well, that's the thing. It's there to cover the
Hides
point.
it. Yeah, they've spotted it. They know it's there. Maybe they haven't. Maybe that was accidental damage.
There's also only a few places where you can put a turret, so I think if you research teams enough, especially because Gogora has played a decent amount of
they found it.
Torb in the past, well, can't be too hard to read.
The team's just kind of opting into a bit of a pitched battle here.
That'll be a tick gone.
Yeah, so far, Kerberos has got the better value out of the May walls. This wall is nice, but it doesn't really mean much unless they actually stand on the point behind it to keep the contest going.
Oh, Muse might be in trouble. He's caught.
Oh, barely gets the shield back in front of him. Patapan, meanwhile, finds a huge high impact pick. He's been unlocked now. He's found a brilliant flank. He found 2 already. And now, ooh, the wall does save Kerberos from Patapan, but it doesn't save him from the likes of Mango Jai. That's going to be Talon able to balance a defense on top of Patapan.
And speaking of balance, both Widowmakers have to be very aware of, A, where the other Widowmaker is, but also how much extra damage they can put into everyone else. You see there, as Patapan is dropping the shots into the rest of the Nova MS members, he's still looking for Yon1. Sees that Yon1 isn't there to contest. Going to drop a few more shots than the rest of Nova MS. Gets like 2 to 3 picks there. Yon1 isn't going to come out to contest, and suddenly the push is over.
Speaking of pushes being over, Talon are starting to bank up some serious ultimates here. That being said, Nova MS aren't exactly strapped for cash themselves, economically speaking.
You gotta be careful.
That's a nice shot, though.
Because if Patapan, I was going to say, if Patapan goes down there, it might be hard to res, but CQB has been pocketing him, and I guess the difference is they're running 2 supports instead of just the one. Speaking of res, Inan does come back up.
Ooh. That's a really unfortunate loss there, and the res has already been committed onto Inan, so that just leaves them tankless for this push. They trade, though, onto Gagora, so they may be able to get back in here. They do have the closer respawn.
It's such a scary matchup where you know that if one of the Widowmaker goes down, this could swing the fight entirely. It has for most of the A defense for Nova MS, and now attacking. Yon1 hasn't quite found Patapan just yet. I guess defensively, the defensive Widow does usually have a bit of an advantage, and Patapan's playing into it.
Just double blizzards just to make this point impossible to approach. CQB down, though, is a very high impact pick. Red Fox will have a res available for this fight. Molten Fall's already been committed without Nova MS really caring to the point just yet. Yon1 finds his counterpart, goes immediately sky high to find a Pudo with the headshot, and that's probably going to be the defense cracked wide open. Nova MS going to be able to cap.
That's all it takes. You have a couple members go down. A Yon1, Patapan can't counter-snipe that one, and the Yon1 picks off the rest, or at least adds enough damage to do so. Nova MS took a while to get past A. Let's also be clear that Talon were able to snowball to be quite effectively. If Nova MS can't do that, they're not going to be having a very competitive time bank.
That's the thing. There is still an amount of pressure for Nova MS here. As much as Talon took a long time to cap A, they have done the work to potentially maintain a lead here, but they do need to now do some more work on this defense.
Kagora's actually still on the top for the time being, so I'll see how much more he gets done with that so far. And for Talon, working on the next ring of ultimates, a team has a supercharger available. Yon1's already into this B site so far as Nova MS slowly push in.
Talon also sticking on the Mei, which I do kind of like. Apudo has generally done that well, but they're also relatively vulnerable here. There has to be a res committed onto Gagora.
It's a tough angle for Patapan to play with. He's not playing the longer angle because then he would have to contest the 1v1. And Kerberos finds the flank and he gets so much done.
Yeah, Kerberos is more than happy to get aggressive on this hard zone because Talon kind of have to sit off to the side anyway. They realize they can't keep this up. They have to try and make something happen now, so they go ahead, commit forward, and end up getting absolutely slam dunked. Now the re-entry of Gagora immediately gets cut down as he charges in. And that's going to be it, I believe. Nova MS should be able to cap here, and they'll actually end up having a favorable time bank.
Yeah, they get the snowball going. If they didn't win this push, they would have had a worse time bank, but because they were able to get this in one attempt, look, it was slow, but it was purposeful, and they got the job done because they took it piece by piece. They did eventually lose a team who got res back in anyway, and Yon1 just slowly pushing up. You can see Patapan, he's off to that side in this little corner that we can see. And this angle, once more, is just not ideal. He wants to be playing the long sight range, high ground. The other side to our left over here would have been ideal, but then you really do have to take the 1v1 versus Yon1. And still, Yon1 has won the absolute majority of those. And if Talon were able to hold that angle and play slightly more aggressively, they would have had this. And I think we're at a place now where, because Yon1's kind of getting the one over, Talon are playing far more defensively. They're losing far more space. Being choked up in this corner just entirely allows Nova MS just to push in.
And I mean, they were put into a bit of an impossible position here. They made the right call by popping the nano boost, trying to push on in, seeing if they could at least get some kills, start stabilizing. Otherwise, it would have just slowly been a loss. Instead, it ends up being a quick loss from that point, but it is the correct call to make ultimately.
And I'll be honest, if we're going, and we are going into a 2-2-2 meta, it's going to be roll lock, right? If for Nova MS, if these are your two DPSs, that's impressive because both Kerberos and Yeonwon have been really performing quite well so far in the series. And if you're able to do this much against Talon, where they got enough of their own superstar DPSs and you're more than going even, that's going to be very good for Nova MS going to the future.
I think these are impressive players to be going toe-to-toe with, to say the very least. That's a really nice early kill though onto a Ting. It's going to be quite hard for Nova MS to hold out against Talon now. They won't have a shield to sit behind.
I also think the other factor is Pataphan, speaking of which, hasn't had very many strong competitors in the Widowmaker matchup. He hasn't had to play this cautiously. He hasn't had someone that has been beating him consistently in those. Yeonwon goes down, but Pataphan's not there to take advantage.
That is your perfect halt hook. As much as Pataphan isn't there, the rest of the team still is at least. And again, without a Ting being there, they have been able to just free fire through a shieldless team, and Nova MS going to get cut down where they stand.
All right, that's still one attempt. And this is the real beauty of Talon. This is where, okay, if Pataphan's not hitting shots today because Yeonwon's taking him down, it comes down to the other 5 members. What else can we do here? Can someone else pop off Gagora, landing that hook, comboing up with Muse, taking down key members? Now we need to see Talon do a very similar kind of push versus Nova where Pataphan can take the dominant angle, but it can't do that if Yeonwon's winning duels.
It's a really big pick onto CQB, unfortunately. That alone probably means Talon don't get much of a push here unless they get some insane picks. And with the hook there, the fadeaway hook as well. Pataphan was nearly away to safety, and now Talon have to try retreat. They can't thanks to Kerberos's wall. And maybe they should have chosen the retreat earlier when they lost CQB. Instead, they lose a lot more.
So there's 2 ways you can look at this. One is that Talon snowballed from A on 1 attempt, so they don't lose that much time. 2 is that, I mean, there is still going to be a pretty rough push ahead, considering that they are sitting at 140 now. They are getting a few ultimates up online. They still need to be able to break open this opening doors section pretty comfortably. If they can force Yeonwon away, that would be ideal. But Nova MS have been performing pretty well with their own May. This is a very, very effective composition for both teams to be running.
The reality for Talon here as well is Yeonwon gets the better position to begin with, just because he can sit way back, take the long sight lines, get behind shields. Talon have to do a bit more setup just to enable Pataphan, and that's to say nothing of him potentially getting shot in the head.
And this was the setup they had before. The first time they pushed into B, that first attempt, an entire round ago. This time they also get a Ting as well, which is a nice opening.
The double blizzard, a little bit rough, but Piggy is the other casualty here, so Talon have come out the better end of that trade, even though they weren't able to get onto it straight away. Red Fox going down as well while fishing for the res. Pudo may go down here, but honestly, Talon have done the groundwork. They got the better end of the Blizzard. It slowed things down a little bit, eating Kerberos' Blizzard, but they did still get onto the point. They did still get the better picks. That's really brutal. Staying airborne there as the whole hog keeps the Doomfist airborne, and Talon are going to be able to cap this one out. It will be less than a minute, but they should be over the overtime. Nova MS going to try and stop that from happening.
Gagaura's in position now. No one can touch him. Hilarious to see the Doomfist stuck in midair, like you mentioned, going for the seismic slam and never slamming on the ground until he's dead. Pataphan finally gets one on Yeonwon towards the end as well. Okay, it's a long setup, but where that really starts is how they killed Red Fox. Really nice plays in terms of Red Fox trying to fly over to get assistance on, I can't remember which member it was specifically, might have been Piggy, onto the high ground. Apudo sees this, walls her off entirely. She doesn't complete the fly over to be able to reach the friendly member, so gets caught in the middle of nowhere, can't run away, gets halted as well, and then it's just a sitting duck to be taken out. And then once you lose your Mercy player, things start to look really bad. That's your main healer gone, that's your res gone. Talon know that's their time to push. They go in, they take that win.
The first kill they got as well was a Ting, and I think that's a big part of why those 2 Blizzards played out so differently for each team, because Talon, while some members were frozen in Kerberos' Blizzard, they were at least behind Muse's shield for the most part, and also just in more cover on the whole, whereas Nova MS, no shield to sit behind. As much as Talon are frozen, not doing a whole lot of damage, the few members that were alive can actually land whatever shots they can fire, so a second member goes down.
So both teams have pretty decent A offenses so far, and the first team now to be able to kind of change that by having a really solid A defense is possibly going to change things quite a bit. You'll notice that Nova MS actually had an advantage going into time bank, so Talon have more work to do to try and get this timer down and really shave minutes off if they want to be able to win in this section.
This could be where the momentum shifts just a touch. Even then a good B defense would be enough as well, because so far both teams have good A's and reasonably good B's. Early pick on NN helps slow down.
This is where you can still go fishing if you're Yon1 though. The push is kind of over, but the poke is definitely not, man. You start looking for... If that was a headshot, that would have been bad news. Patapan lucky to stay alive.
Just sat right out in the open. Took a body shot. Luckily, that's not enough to kill you.
You can just tell how many shots Yon1 is landing on Patapan, whether those are headshots or body shots. The body shots, as mentioned, if are headshots, those are just more 1v1 kills that he's getting over Patapan. And now Nova MS is starting to push in. As long as they don't lose a ting, they should be okay.
Yeah, they're able to keep him alive as they make the rotation, and that's also Yon1 speaking of rotation, looking around the side. Kerberos dives forward, finds CQB. Trades start to come through though, a ting frozen up here, but alive, slipping out. That is absolutely ridiculous. He got so low, but had Red Fox uncontested in the pocket. The double freeze though, still not able to finish off a ting though, because the rest of the team was busy dealing with Kerberos around the side, who has been otherwise getting free, uncontested value. Now the Dragon Strike taking out Patapan, and Talon are slowly but surely finding themselves down on this defense.
He finally goes down, but look, so does the rest of Talon, unfortunately. Mango Jai wins that one from long range, and Apuda, you got to feel for him, because if you get that kill onto a ting, that's a lot of your push power gone. That's a shield gone, it's a main tank gone. Maybe Talon then can find some counter trades with Gagora, so the Apuda still alive, and maybe Patapan coming back as well, but that's going to be the push and defense done. We're on to B already. There's a decent amount of time remaining for Nova MS to be able to get this double cap going. Yon1's going to be on a main instead, so Patapan probably be happy to see that for now.
Should be a good opportunity for Talon to slow things right down. I like the wall, stops the Halt from having follow-up damage. Kerberos is going to make the same play, but it does not block the sight line, and then goes down. And
I think Apudo is kind of the X-factor here, because it's been a lot of Orisa Hog, and speaking of which, Piggy's gone back on Azaria, so they kind of lose that utility. Apudo's walls have just been really effective, which is pushing Yon1 and trying to do the same thing.
Double supercharger. I do like the wall from Yon1 to try and force the team forward onto the point. It actually worked out because they found Apudo. He will get res, but this is throwing the tempo up a little bit for Talon, who are now just trying to recover a little bit. They use a Transcendence, they use a wall. They need to get kills, otherwise this isn't worthwhile, but they are finding those kills now. They end up having to commit the whole hog. This is the advantage of at least having more ultimates to play with, though.
And I'll be honest, this is kind of good, even if there's one more push remaining for Nova MS and they have ultimates, because now the best thing that Nova can do is still roughly get the same amount of time in the time back. It's about 23 seconds remaining. I don't even think they'll get the 23. Just because of the fact there's so many exit kills that Talon are getting while Nova MS are trying to reset.
They only just make that reset now. They will come in with a Blizzard, a Grab, a Dragon Strike as well. They've got all the right kinds of tools. I like the swap onto the Batiste, though. Give them the Immortality Fields. Give them maybe a better chance of surviving.
Exactly, because Grab Dragon can be a winning combo here. If Mango Jai can land this Immortality Field correctly, on top of maybe a well-placed wall from Apudo, they will be able to survive against that combo.
They've also got the Diva, so they're swapping the pick potential for
Grab's
greater
gone.
survivability, and that's already one tool mitigated entirely. Now the Blizzard to come out, but there's not really many members left to follow up on it. The res on Piggy is nice, but this is where those defensive tools are effective. Mango Jai can't be killed with the Immortality Field up. They had to finish it off first. That slowed them down. They are starting to get the kills, though, but Piggy picks
Yon1's popping.
Be dead means no res. That's big, but Yon1 down as well. Muse has barely stayed alive, may eventually go down here, but Talon can start getting some respawners in. Abuna's going to come back in with a Blizzard. It'll at least buy time, if nothing else. It's 2/3 cap, though. Here's that Blizzard out, right on top of the point if they want to keep contesting.
Respawn advantage.
Kerberos is stuck in a corner. He can't move lest he get frozen up. And now they're just trying to finish off these respawners. Apudo is doing the work. He's blocked up the sightline. They can mitigate this, keep these members off the point. Still fishing for picks, still keeping these supports at bay. Two more go down, and there it is. Talon, they keep their hopes alive for long enough, knowing that maybe they'll get a shot at a play. They finally managed to make it work.
But was that so difficult for Talon? Because let's actually, you have to really look at this now, because that was one of Talon's toughest games ever that I've seen. And let's, even including the fact that they lost versus Jupiter on Paris, that kind of just felt like, okay, Talon, they messed up quite badly here. They mis-executed Jupiter where, again, when Jupiter claim their attacks, they turn into a god tier team. You see it versus everybody. When they get that one win, they turn into like an insane team. I don't know what happens, but in this particular match, it felt like two extremely good teams going toe-to-toe. Where I think things really change is when Yeomon goes onto the main. Yes, you're not competing against Apuda, but who's shutting down Patapan?
Yeah.
See Patapan drop those first two picks very quickly in that final fight. And this is on top of then Yeomon able to trade 3 himself as the main. That's a big deal. Kerberos gets another 2 as a Hanzo. That's a big deal. Kerberos got that on his own B attack your face. Last time I saw he's been doing a lot of work on that Hanzo. It takes so much. But Pudo has to come back, drop the Blizzard. It takes so much then to shut everyone else back down. Put your tanks on the field, rely on respawn advantage during the overtime for Talon to bring it back. I think that could have and maybe should have gone to another time back.
Quite possibly, and you highlight the player there that I also really want to highlight actually is Kerberos. We've already talked about the fact that the thing that's so impressive here is that Nova MS's DPS duo. This fresh pickup here in Yeomon and Kerberos is going toe-to-toe with Patapan and Apudo, and also to an extent Bashful.
And sometimes outperforming as well.
And that's the crazy thing. We've talked mostly about Yeomon in the head-to-head against Patapan, but it means we've not actually talked as much about Kerberos, who has made his presence felt on a number of picks here. Even the Mei, where he's maybe not always getting as much value as Apudo. When he's on the Hanzo, he is far outstripping what Talon are able to sort of match, and we're seeing him get a lot of work done. Like, the DPS duo going toe-to-toe isn't just Yeomon is godly and is really showing up. Kerberos as well is really pulling his weight. And
I still have to point out, you know, that 1B defense where Talon have to hide away in the corner, that is the first time I've seen Talon really scared would be a good word to use it, but they're just behind. They're pressured out. They're finally having to kind of position so defensively that they give away a lot to the other side. They give away sightlines. They give away positioning as well. They give away the map control. You just never see them having to play like that versus anyone, versus no other team so far in the entire season. They've never had to back out like that. They've never had to just relinquish their control. They've always been the dominant team. It's every other team that have to hide away, that have to be scared, that don't want to play into Patapan sightlines. You never have to see Talon being the ones like, can't face Yeomon today, can't play into his sightline today, can't risk getting picked out, let's all hide in the corner, wait force here. Kerberos takes a flank on top, kills everyone, and you still lose.
And I mean, they could well still end up walking away with a win here. They have won the last 2 despite being very much challenged. 2-0 could be a 4-0 at the end of the day. On balance, you'd say, hey, they're still the dominant team, but at the end of the day, this has been a far greater challenge than anyone has posed so far. It makes things that little bit less comfortable. Maybe it's not a 4-0 next time you meet, and maybe that next time is in the grand finals.
And this is very scary. We talked about Nova MS. This is being a almost testing ground for them. I don't know. This test already seems pretty successful. Right? And if this is what they look like now, they're going to look disgusting in the future meta in playoffs as well. But even in this match, I don't know that it's necessarily over. It's 2-0 for Talon. But Nova have a good shot of bringing it back around when we come back from this break, so don't go anywhere.